Have you ever seen or tried reading a document that the headings and the body of the document and even the closing of the document, maybe a Word document or a PDF document, and the headings, the body and the closing of the document are all in different fonts for each of the lines? And not just that, the headings and the body, they are the same font size. Can you imagine how that document looks? Okay, let's imagine for once that each line or each word in your document has a different font style or a font name or a font face. Do you think you will enjoy reading such a document? Will such a document pass the right message across to you? That's what will take us into today's class. We will be talking about font usage, how you can properly use fonts. Now, fonts are an amazing part of graphic design. There is no way you can do graphic design without font. Now, font on its own is actually a large subject, coming all the way from typography and all that, font creation and all that. Now, font has for ages evolved, and as a graphic designer who wants to really do well, you must understand the usage of fonts. Now we have sans serif font and serif font. Sans serif are fonts that doesn't have pointed edges like the one you're seeing on the screen now. Now serif font are fonts that actually have extended edges, e.g. like Transjan, like your Time New Roman. That's a serif font. They have extended edges. And over the years, I have come to notice that if you don't know how to work with fonts, you will be a very bad designer. Like, you will make a whole lot of mistakes. I always tell people that graphic design is not all about using effects, but is how effective the message you are passing out is well understood, how easy it is for your audience to understand your language, how effective is the message, and how effective is the language of your message. That will take us to the next slide. Now, one thing I've mastered over the years and I've discovered is that professionals don't use more than one font style or family. Professionals don't use more than one font style or family. A font style or a font family is a set of fonts with different style. Now, before we come to that, let me tell you why professionals don't use more than one font name or font style or font family in their designs. Now, professionals stick with a particular font style or family, and this helps them in creating a proper workflow. Imagine reading a magazine where you see that the different paragraphs in the message you are reading has a different font style or a font family. Maybe you see in this particular paragraph you have Arial, in the next paragraph you have Transjans, in the next paragraph you have Cinzel, in the next paragraph you have Gotham, in the next paragraph you just see different styles. It looks awkward, right? So this is why we as professionals, we stick with one font style or font face or font family to help us create a proper workflow of text usage. Now, the number 2 thing is this also helps your audience feel relaxed while reading through your work, like what I just said. They feel relaxed reading through your work, and it actually helps in creating a sense of understanding of your message. You can't feed your design with every kind of font style and font name or font family. It doesn't work that way. On a maximum, you don't use more than 2 fonts as a professional graphic designer. Don't use more than 2 fonts. This will also help you in creating hierarchy in your message by using the principle of contrast. Hierarchy is created principally by the principle of contrast, or you can say size, principle of size. Now, what hierarchy and contrast does for you is it helps you create a message properly passed out to your audience in a step-by-step approach of importance. Now, for an example, this is an example of what contrast and hierarchy is. Read the statement. It says, get the practical steps and secrets that will make you become so useful as an employee you become unsackable. The important words in this statement, as you can see, are practical steps and secrets become unsackable. That means the practical steps and secrets that will help you become unsackable. Now, when you see a message like this, the first things that actually grabs your attention are those texts that are in the in hierarchy. They are bigger, they are bolder, they are even in capital case, well spelled out to give you a sense of what? Of the language of the message and an understanding of what the person is trying to pass across. That is what hierarchy and contrast does for you. By you sticking to what? A particular font family or font name. Now, to have a clear understanding of the font or fonts to use, you also have to understand and know the industry you are designing for at every given time. Have an understanding of the industry you are designing for at every given time. If you are working for a church, there are fonts you used for the church. If your audience or the industry you are working for is the industry for kids, for children, there are fonts you use in designing for kids. Also, there are colors you use. That is another separate class entirely on colors. There are fonts you use in designing for kids. You use energetic fonts, bold, colorful fonts in designing for kids. Now also, if you are designing for the engineering industry, there are fonts you use for an engineering industry. And the fonts mostly used in the engineering industry are sans serif fonts, like the font you are seeing on the screen. Font that doesn't have extended or pointed ends or edges. If you are also designing for the logic industry, which is the Lego field, there are fonts you use and there are colors you use. So understand each industry at every given time. Now, if you are working for the digital space, you should understand that the font mostly used there are also sans serif fonts. If you are designing for events, understand the kind of events you are designing for. Know the industry. You can use serif fonts for your events, for your entertainment industries and all that. There are no restrictions, I think, in that field. Depends on what your client wants at that particular time to pass out his or her message. So have an understanding of the industry you are working for and know the fonts that are acceptable in that industry. It will help you a lot. It will help you a lot in becoming a great graphic designer who understands the usage of fonts. Next, if you are not sure of the fonts or the fonts to use, I will advise you go with sans serif. You can never go wrong using sans serif font. You can't go wrong. Just the same way they say you can't go wrong with black. Or you can't go wrong putting on black. Everyone looks good putting on a black color shirt, a black color suit. Same way you can't go wrong with sans serif fonts. Can never be wrong. Now, I told you a font family is a set of fonts with different styles. They said be bold and italic, but never be normal. Alright. That's by the way anyway. Now we have, in every font family, we have bold, the bold style, we have the italic style, we have the normal style of that font family. We also have the bold italic, we also have the normal italic. We have some have extra bold normal, extra bold italic. All of them, like the font you've seen on the screen, is Gotham. The name of the font is Gotham. I love using it a lot. So the style in every family are actually circulated around these three: bold, italic, and normal. So while working with a particular font family, you should know that every font family falls into these three categories of styles. So understand where and how to use either the bold style of that family, the italic style of that family, and the normal style font of that family to pass out your message. Now, the bold most times are used in shooting out the most important words in the sentence most times, or they are mostly used for your headlines or captions to command attention. That's why you see your newsletters and your newspaper headlines, they are always bold. They are used the font family used for your newspapers and newsletter headlines are always bold. Then the italic, they are actually used in pointing out sensitive statements in sentences. They are used in pointing out sensitive statements. Statements you should take note of. Statements you should underline and take note of. Important words in a sentence. Now your normal font style, they are usually used for creating the body of your message or the body of your writing. So some of the fonts you can use, font family you can use: Gotham, Futura. There are a lot of them. We have Arial, we have Helvetica, we have Swiss. Just name them. But these are some of the fonts you can actually use and stick with them in designing. For instance, if I'm designing a flyer, I don't use more than one font. Most times I just go with Gotham, I go with Montserrat, I go with Futura. You get it? So anything you are seeing in that flyer, is actually a particular font family. You see some text bolder than some. That's what I talked about. Hierarchy and contrast. Separating your statement in order of importance. Separating your statement in order of importance. Separating your statement in order of importance. So, all the way from font usage, to how professional uses fonts and all that. I think by now you have a clear understanding why you shouldn't destroy your designs by using 10,000 fonts in just one frame. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Design is more professional when simplicity is adhered to. The lesser you do, the more creative your work becomes. Obey the principle of white space, obey the principle of page layout and all that. You must allow your designs to breathe. You must allow your designs to breathe. I think you've heard this statement over and over again. So, thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next video. Bye bye.